are here right now. So, really cool guest today. We've got Koii Network. Thank you so much for coming. So before I ask you like the general questions, why don't you tell me a bit about what Koii Network is?
Yeah, so Koii is the solution to the Wikipedia problem, as it's called. So for those that haven't followed it, Wikipedia has two big problems. One of them is getting volunteers to actually add content and refine the encyclopedia. The other one is actually hosting all that content. There's a lot of public goods like this. In fact, with Web3, what we're seeing is everything gradually being converted to public goods. Our thesis at Koii is pretty much everything in the world will soon be a public good. And so what that means is you have basically a community-run system that facilitates all the things you want to do on the internet. AI agents are making this really, really fast. So our big release recently has been Prometheus Swarm, which is an AI code generation swarm that allows you to build code using decentralized nodes. And what this means for people who may be less technical is you can create a token from thin air. You can allocate that token to a GitHub repo. And you can take even a recording of a Twitter space like this, transcribe that, and put it into a markdown file. And so you basically can create a GitHub repo using a token that didn't exist before, have a bunch of nodes build the GitHub repo, build the code, and then that gives value to the tokens. So you distribute the tokens out to people. And so we're creating these public goods products like this. It's been really, really rapid uptake lately. So we've got something like 50 partners that we've closed in the last 2 weeks since we announced this. And it's going live next week, which is really exciting. So soon you'll be able to build code entirely with a bunch of decentralized nodes. So you get a bunch of friends together with computers and you can build decentralized knowledge commons and AI. You can build a community school project, anything that you can imagine, everything from trading bots and hedge funds right down to being able to fix things like Wikipedia. We're actually doing some work with the Internet Archive lately too, which is pretty cool.
Wow, that's impressive. And so what would you say are the advantages for, let's say, training an AI model with Koii versus, the traditional ones out there?
Matthew, I just wanted to interrupt quickly. Can we invite Koii to be a speaker as well, just for the reach? For some reason, they're still listed as a listener.
Oh, they are invited. I don't. Yeah, the invite's been sent out already.
All right, Al, if you can tell your people to add Koii would be amazing. But I'll digress and I'll be on mute.
They might just need to leave and rejoin. I'll post this in the Koii chat really quick too.
Awesome. But yeah, in case I'll repeat the question. So what would you say are some of the advantages would be to training an AI model on Koii versus the traditional ones out there?
The main thing that we do on Koii is not actually to train models.
My apologies.
The thing that's exciting with Koii though is you can run large agent swarms. And so an agent, for people that don't know, an agent is usually already a trained model. But what you do with an agent is you give a model context. So you give it access to certain information, which can be private information that you have, or it can be some public information from the web. And then you can get these agents to work together like employees in a company, which is I think the really exciting next step for this industry. The big reason for this is when you have a bunch of these agents running in parallel, they can do microtransactions between each other. And that's something you can only really do on Web3, right? Because no matter how good ChatGPT gets, it can't access my bank account because I would never want it to, but it can maybe use my hot wallet if it's running on a Koii node.
Yeah, that's interesting. You definitely. I'm not sure about. I would be comfortable with the hot wallet yet, but maybe something I could. That's just my personal preference, and I could warm up to.
Depends how much you put in the hot wallet and how much you trust the open source code too, which is that's why we're in beta. It's been
that's true. That's true.
It's to give you an example of what this looks like, you can so with the Koii node, people that haven't tried it, it takes about 5 minutes to install it. And then once you have this app on your computer, you can run all these different projects and tasks. And you can click play and something starts running in the background. But they're all open source. So you can see the code base behind them. They're audited by the community. And what that means is you can put up $20 worth of Ethereum and then have an agent go run and start doing trading on your behalf, or start trying to front run different trades, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of stuff that basically what's happening though is the code is running on your computer and it's got access to what you can access, and you give it access to certain things so that it can go and act on your behalf. So it's kind of like having your own personal team to run all of your different trading algos, or write content, or even experimenting with journalistic applications. And obviously the software development one's a big use case.
That's cool. I actually have I last night I went through the process of downloading the software, the dashboard. So since you brought it up, let's talk about that. What walk me through the process, because I feel like I've only half done it, or I messed up, or I probably messed up. I have my computer. How do I get this up and running? How can I earn Koii?
Yeah, so once you get the node installed, then the trick is the node is actually just it's a container, right? So most blockchain nodes, you're running just one node at a time, and you have to have a different app for each node. The Koii node is a kind of a meta app for this, kind of like think of it like a super app, like the WePay type world. What you can do with the Koii node though is you can run all these different tasks. So it really your earnings are going to depend on which tasks you choose to run. And if you haven't been in our Discord yet, we have a super active community, about 60,000 people in there who are really engaged on this. And they're really the keeners that go through and read everything. I'm currently running about 20 tasks on my computer in the background. And then the cool thing that happens is, if your Koii node is using too much of your compute capacity, it'll just put some of the tasks to sleep. So like I'm on this space right now, so I have a bit less RAM available on my computer, and the node is just powering down a few of the background jobs. So you really get this environment where you're making the most out of your compute capacity.
And once you have like a task running, so I actually have a task running at the moment. I'm looking at it. Basically, I'm seeing a bar that goes up and down. It actually literally went from green to fire orangish like half a second ago. And what am I looking at, I guess, would be my question.
So what's happening in the background is your computer is running a bunch of processes that are revenue generating for your machine. And so you're not actually getting paid by Koii, you're getting paid by one of the providers on our network who are looking for your device. And the reason it goes from green to the fire orange is usually if you're in a warm-up period. So a lot of the tasks have different incentive logic and stuff going on behind the scenes. And there's usually a bit of a delay when you first start them, but then after a couple of rounds, then they tend to start paying out. So usually the rounds actually delay the reward a little bit. So you get paid after you do the work. Kind of like, if you get a job, you get paid like on your second Friday. It's kind of the same principle.
Mhm. And what would be like the turnaround? Because I've probably been doing this for a few hours now.
It depends on which task you're running. Which task did you start?
KPL token miner task. Mine
So
earn
that,
random
that
rewards.
one is a special case. The KPL token miner gives you a whole bunch of different KPL tokens so that you can stake them on different tasks, because all of the different tasks run with their own tokens. That's kind of the really cool part with this economy. So each of the providers comes, they put up a bounty of their token, and then the KPL token, the token miner task gives you a little bit of each one of those. So you'll start seeing some rewards pop up. Probably, I think we do the airdrops on that one like once a day. But there are a bunch
Okay.
of other ones that you can run. And if you haven't gone through the Koii faucet yet, you can actually get tokens from there to stake on other tasks too. So you should have some
Yes,
Koii through the faucet.
I got the Discord double multiplier. I've got the other one, O Fire.
Oh, fire. Yeah, nice. Yeah, so the big thing there is like we just need to have enough you need to have enough tasks running to start like kind of kicking up your rewards. I would advise also connecting your Ethereum wallet and a Solana wallet because you get another double up for those. The whole idea though, you get a bunch of free tokens from the faucet, and then you can go stake those on different projects. And the reason you're staking them is because it prevents malicious actors. So in your case, you're just running the node normally, but since this is an open protocol, somebody could come in and try to like DDoS the network or attack it somehow. And the staking prevents that from happening, because if somebody's a malicious actor, then we can take away their stake.
Well, I can assure you I'm not doing that because I don't know how.
Exactly. But yeah, it's mostly, there's some preventions and safeguards, but we've tried to make a lot of the Web3 stuff a little bit less obvious for people. But yeah, it takes like probably a day for your node to get warmed up, and then you start earning tokens.
All right, it's cool. So I guess I did everything right. I just needed to be told I did everything right. But I will say, those should give it a try because you don't have to be very tech savvy. There's no code involved. It's just like installing a software.
It really should be, right? And this is actually, so the background on this is I ran a think tank in Chicago for a while, and I was really active in organizing Bitcoin and Ethereum meetups in like 2016, 2017 in Chicago. And then we met one of the Ethereum co-founders, and he had a building he wasn't using, and he let us kind of borrow the building to run courses and do research and things like that. And so during this period, what we noticed is like very few people trusted crypto. And the thing that we noticed is the people who really trusted it were the ones who were running nodes. And like usually it was somebody who's running like an Ethereum miner on their home computer or something like that. And that's actually really hard to do nowadays. Like running like a full-fledged node for a protocol is like quite difficult. So we wanted to make this all a lot easier for folks. And we're now finding that actually there's a lot of people who are really interested in being part of that movement. And so a lot of people who used to have their own node are actually moving their tasks over onto Koii, because it's just a lot simpler for the end user if there's a standard interface for this.
And so I see, like, you know, as I mentioned, I'm doing the KPL token miner, but what are some tasks that you can do on this? Other tasks, because I saw like 20.
Like how this works. We think of this as like there's things that you personally have access to, and so the most money that you can make with your computer is not by renting out the computer; it's by actually like doing something with the computer that generates value. So the first thing that we came up with a couple of years ago was connecting like social media logins like Twitter, because there's a lot of data out there on Twitter that we want to be able to access, and that like, you know, Oracle services on blockchains need to access, that trading services need to access. A lot of that's like really valuable information. And so with the first wave of this, we just allowed people to connect their Twitter account. And that basically 10x's the value you can make with a personal computer. Because if you think of like, if you just took your computer and put it in a, you know, in a data center, you know, there's only so much that you can make off of the hardware as like just raw hardware. But when you add a Twitter account to it, now you've got a multiplier on the raw hardware value. And so what we've been doing for the last couple of years is adding different things that are going to increase the multiplier on your compute hardware. With the whole goal that like we're onboarding a lot of people to Web3, we want them to make really good returns on this device. Then the latest thing that we came up with is you can actually add an OpenAI or a Claude credential. Claude is the Anthropic competitor to ChatGPT, and Claude's really good at writing code. And so with Prometheus, what we're doing is if you connect your Anthropic key, which costs like, you know, $5 or $10 a month, then you can make an outsized return by writing code for open source projects. And the big release with Prometheus is we're going to get you paid in like 40 different tokens. So we've got all these partners who have their own tokens, and they're actually bridging them onto Koii to give them out to people who have LLM credentials. Because ultimately what they want is they want to be able to get an LLM, large language model, to write code on their open source repos. And that's a big add for a lot of these ecosystems, because it means that like, you know, even if their software team isn't that big, now their community can actually help maintain the software, which is like a really big step forward. And for most of these guys, what that means is that, you know, they have a big budget for that, and they can put up a lot of tokens. And so instead of, you know, just renting out purely your, you know, your GPU, CPU, or your hard drive, now you can actually rent out a service that you can make with all those things. And so these Koii tasks are kind of like composite services that run across a bunch of different value creation mechanisms.
All right. This is good stuff. Sorry, I feel like I'm making this into my own personal tutorial, but hopefully you guys can learn from it too.
If I can sum up slightly, I think probably what I just described is a little bit technical. The simple answer is it's like automating things that you could do with your computer. So you could sit there and copy things out of Twitter and put them in a spreadsheet and then sell that spreadsheet to someone, and there's markets for that, but it would take you a long time and it'd be really time intensive. So like as an example, some of the tasks that are using the bird token on Koii, it's bird for Twitter, right? Because we used to have a bird on this platform before it became X. The bird token is given out to people who help us curate Twitter data. And it's just like if you were doing that yourself manually, except now it's running in the background. So that's a really simple example. There's a lot more like that. We also help Truflation with tracking inflation, and we help verify the Arweave network and a few other places like that. There's actually also some games in there too. I don't know if you saw the Dangerous Dave task, but that one's kind of fun.
No, but I plan on doing this later tonight, because this looks like oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I plan on trying all of these. I do have my graphics cards are getting up there in age, but I like to consider myself as having an above average computer.
Yeah, I mean, in that case, you can probably run a lot of tasks without really even noticing it, and then you're just getting exposure to all these tokens. We're also doing DEX on top of Koii in the near future, and so soon you'll be able to trade all these tokens against each other, which is really cool. So we're trying to get people to bring their tokens over to Koii just to make it accessible to the community, and then we're hoping to create as a trading environment where like you're earning these tokens and then you're swapping between them to get in on the new project, which should be really exciting actually as the year gets going. We've got something like 50 partnerships in the pipeline, like I mentioned.
Yeah, and I have to say I like the layout of the interface. You know, it's very straightforward. It sort of just seems like, you know, if I want to run it, I press the run button, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah, the thing you probably haven't noticed yet, which you will as you start to get a bunch of these tasks running, is It's actually really fun to leave it running in the background because you get all these little progress bars ticking up and you're earning all these different tokens on all the progress bars. And so I'm just like, I have mine in the background on my computer running all the time. And I actually keep a little space between my Telegram window and my Slack window so I can just see all the bars ticking up and watch the numbers piling up. It's pretty fun to watch your money pile up.
Yeah, a long time ago, I used to mine crypto back when that was a thing, like GPU mining. And I have to admit, like seeing that little, the amount of crypto I'd earn like slightly go up, it was pretty fun to watch that.
That's
So
always,
I imagine it'd be a similar feeling.
and it's a lot more fun when the market does well after that, and then it starts actually ripping, right? So you get to win.
That's true. That's true. So thank you all for listening to a little one-on-one tutorial. So what are some other apps that you haven't mentioned that you'd really personally like to see built on this?
So I mentioned trading bots. I think that's a really big one because a lot of crypto people, like, what we really want to do is we want to trade the market without having to stare at our computers all day, right? So that would be awesome. A similar one on that vein is research. So being able to just parse through all the stuff that's happening on crypto Twitter as a community and then like automatically vet all the information, which is actually a really powerful service that is very underserved in this market. Like right now, if you want to get trading indicators, you have to go pay for them on an exchange, and they're like $700 a month, which is more than most people can afford. So you have to be like a really high value trader to be able to afford those kinds of services, and then it's a big upfront investment. So what we're trying to get to here is like community-based information networks, right? Obviously, trading is a big starting point. I also mentioned like the Internet Archive direction, which is like, can we go and scrape the whole internet and make it accessible to people and have like full verifiability? Because there's stuff like I don't know if anybody remembers the name Jeffrey Epstein, but like that kind of got swept under the rug, and like maybe we should be looking into that more, right? And as a community now, we can pull our compute hardware to go and like address our paranoia and find out what's actually going on behind the scenes.
The name sounds a little familiar.
Yeah, something a couple years ago. Don't look into it. It's a little scary. But the whole point being that like there are things that we can do with our computers that are collaborative activities. So like obviously social media and like getting to like a fully decentralized social is the end goal, because that's where like decentralized social is actually a core for all of this. But what we've noticed is along the way, there's a lot of options to use like AI agentic platforms and things like that to create value. And so what we're trying to get to here is kind of a subsidized platform where we're able to do public goods projects. We're able to do things that really benefit the world, but we're also doing it in a way where the node operator is compensated for the other work that they're doing. And so we make it worth your while to keep the node installed. We make sure that you're getting some stable returns in tokens. And then at the same time, we're making sure that people are getting progressively better technology stacks. So when developers sit down to build on Koii, they have this like magic moment where they can build something that would have taken years otherwise.
Yeah, that's really cool. And so let's play a hypothetical scenario here. I want to build something on Koii. Is there something how can you help me build on it?
Yeah, so the thing that we've just built recently is called Prometheus. And what Prometheus does, for people that don't know, AI can now write code, right? So the AI can write code, but the code that AI writes is not always perfect, and it needs to be tested. And so you can ask ChatGPT, build me an app, and it'll spit out all of this code, but we don't know if it works yet, right? So what we do with Prometheus is we actually take that API and we run it locally, and we take all the data, all the code that it spits out, and we actually run that code and test it, and then we push it to GitHub from hundreds of accounts. And so the big pilot with Prometheus, I think we're now almost 11,000 pull requests. So a pull request is when you contribute code to one of these open source repos. And we're at 11,000 individual contributions from something like 500 different GitHub accounts, which happened completely automatically without any humans. But it's all being tested, and then the nodes are actually competing with each other to test the work. And so we call that the like a multi-agent competition, basically. And if you create these adversarial environments for agents, they actually perform really well, and they can find things that they wouldn't be able to do otherwise.
So I am so at coding. I always like to tell myself I have the car salesman's equivalent knowledge.
Okay.
Where like a car salesman, you don't want them to fix your car, but they're able to repeat the information of what's underneath the hood, right?
Sure.
So I'm not great. I can do the ChatGPT. I'm not great at testing it if it's something complicated. Can I, from using Prometheus, tell ChatGPT to do this code, build me an app, and then Prometheus takes it from there?
That's the whole idea. Yeah. And you take the thing that you got, you put it in a repo, or even better yet, actually you just write a spec file, and it's just a one pager that explains what your goal for the product is, and then the nodes can take it from there.
So my terrible coding skills won't prevent me from building on Koii.
Exactly.
That's incredible. I can just see, because we're coming at the idea where, you remember 10 years ago, when people were like, I've got an idea, it's an app. Like, how many times did you hear that, right?
Every day, man.
As
soon as you announce yourself as being a software developer, that's most of your Instagram messages.
Exactly. They need help building this app. And now it's like, you can do it yourself.
And you can do it with a community of people. And so what we're trying to create here is a flashpoint where if enough people care about a topic, then we can auto build that together. And actually the community can share in the governance as well. So for example, like if Toronto DAO wanted to create, say, some kind of a social product, we're helping Crypto Mondays with this now. So Crypto Mondays wanted to be able to connect people over LinkedIn who had shared interests and get them to sit down for coffee. That requires a whole bunch of really complicated code in the back end. But in the near future, Crypto Mondays is also launching a token. And so they put this up to their community. And actually next Friday, we're going to be doing a town hall with their founder, Lou, who's an amazing guy. He actually owned the .tv domain set for a while, if you can believe it, which is like absolutely incredible. Anyways, this team of people, though, it's a huge global community. They have 150 meetups around the world. And their goal is to create technology that bridges their community and makes it better connected. And they're launching a token to support that. And so what they're going to do is they're going to put a bounty up as a portion of their token supply to build all the tech. And then their community will come forward with their computers and connect together to actually build the tech. And in exchange for that, they'll earn the token, which gives them governance rights in the future. And so everybody can actually come together and build something with like very little overhead. And it at the same time kind of low-key fixes the like the communist bureaucracies problem, which is like, if you want to do something for the greater good, eventually somebody has to be the secretary and work on it all day. And then that person ends up biased relative to the community. And the more that you use AI agents for this, the less you have that like internal bias and that bureaucracy, and that really reduces the long-term costs and makes sure that the system can be successful.
And so every month at Toronto DAO, we're trying to do this thing where we come up with an app idea. And this past month, we have this amazing developer, Krill, who created an app where it gives you recommendations based on of what to do or eat in Toronto based on your Twitter profile. And I feel like I kind of want to implement this, use Prometheus and Koii for the next brainstorming session.
That'd be really cool. Yeah. The other thing that's cool about this too is if you actually have a developer on staff, you can make these things go a lot faster. Because what you end up with then is it's kind of like your developer is now the CTO of this army of engineers. And so for like 1 hour a day, the CTO can sit down, look at what all the nodes have proposed, and then like merge the changes in. And so you can turn each person who's software development capable into a leader in the industry, which is what we've been trying to do for a long time.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, if he was able to create such an amazing app, like just no AI, like imagine what he could do with this.
That's the whole thing. Though I wouldn't believe that he's not using any AI. I think at this point you'd have to.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that's true. I to be honest, the moment I said it, I was like, probably shouldn't have said that.
It's hard to do any job without AI. It's kind of a critical component of our lives now.
So I work in it normally, and to be honest, I don't use it. I'm like the McDonald's employee who won't eat McDonald's.
You know how the sauce.
Yeah, and to be honest, like LinkedIn is like 90% AI posts now, and because I've seen a bajillion AI responses, it's like with the Matrix when the guy doesn't even see the Matrix code.
Mm-hmm.
I just see all AI. I'm like AI. That guy proofread it, but it's still AI.
No, recently I started trying to hack the Twitter algorithm by like not properly formatting, because I went to a good Canadian school and I always was really anal about grammar and spelling. And I've actually noticed lately that if I'm deliberately leaving typos and using bad grammar, it boosts me in the algorithm because it's like very clearly not AI. It's like,
yeah, that's
all tweets from now on
someone
like full lowercase with like shitty emojis, like not like emojis, but like emoticons where it's like a colon and a bracket making a smiley face. Like that actually gets you right into the algorithm on Twitter now, which is crazy.
The big giveaway for those who want to know is that AI is either robotic or overly enthusiastic. It goes 1 to 10. There's no in between.
Makes sense.
Like it'll either be like, hey, can you help me out with this? It's like, sure, here's how to do this. Or, how do I season my new cast iron? It's like, oh, congrats on the new cast iron. It's like, I bought a frying pan. I did not win a car.
Yeah. We like frying pans too, though.
Yes, that's true, especially cast irons. So on top of this, are there grants or is there other documentations that people can use to help build on this?
Yeah, so we're giving out grants actually for Prometheus right now as like beta testing. So if anybody's looking for their open source repo to get a bunch of free software development, we're here to help. The easiest way to get involved for anything is usually in the Discord. So like I said, there's like 60,000 people in there and it's super active. If you hop in there and say hi, there's like 100 ambassadors and they will swarm you trying to help. They're actually we have this incredible community team that just actually are always in there and are so on fire with it. And the other side of it too is if you're in the Discord, you also hear about like airdrops and promotions. So when we release a new product, we actually usually beta test it with the community first, and we try to make sure people get compensated for that with tokens. So lots of good options there too.
Oh, that's cool. It's always nice to get rewarded.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's, a founder that I met early in the space used to tell me about eating glass. And I think if we eat glass as a community, we have to eat less glass per person. So it sounds a lot better. And then we get to the destination.
That's an interesting metaphor.
It's I think the notion is that you have to break the glass ceiling, but you have to break it by eating the glass, basically. That's the only way to get through things. Unfortunately, this industry is pretty far from adoption in most cases. So there's a lot of small tweaks and little bug testing and stuff. I think at this point, though, Koii is working pretty well. We've had about a year and a half of testnet prior to launching mainnet in January. So there's a huge, I think probably it's hard to see how much work goes into this, but in order for Koii to work properly, we have to be able to run software on every computer, which is every operating system since 2005 and every type of hardware that you can imagine. And we have to make them all act like one system. So we spent most of last year testing that out. I had something like 100,000 installs, and basically the community gave us enough feedback that we were able to get it to work stable on all of these different device types. And also, if your node isn't paying you out in the near future, then probably DM somebody on Discord and we'll help you out.
So Koii works on Windows XP?
It does, I think.
Oh, wow.
Pretty sure. Probably slowly, but yeah, it would work.
I mean, if you use Windows XP, still upgrade your computer, but you can still participate in Koii.
Exactly.
So, and I know on your website it says that you're working on a mobile version. Do you have a timeline for that, or are you just going to focus on the desktop for now?
Yeah, so there's actually somebody from the community that's building a mobile wallet right now. So that was V1 of that. And then we actually have a template that we provide to founders. So if somebody's building something and they need a lot of mobile devices instead of desktop devices, we actually we have a template that we can give them and they can package it up. The trick we found for mobile is it's, as opposed to having a standard node that can do all kinds of different tasks, it's a little bit better to have one app per task, because people kind of want to know what they put on their phone. I don't know, it's weird actually. I used to think computers were the secure place, and what I've realized is people are a lot worried about somebody seeing their nudes or their weird texts with their ex. So phones are now the place where people are the most paranoid.
I am picturing a phone literally burning a hole in my pocket though in that scenario.
Yeah, exactly. So this is why we've kind of we've left that for a while, because most people actually use their desktops a lot less now. So there's a lot of excess desktop capacity. Actually, I posted a tweet a couple days ago, which people can go to my profile to see it. But I have graphs of all of the adoption rates of different types of tech. And so the thing right now is there's about 7 billion home computers in the world, and they're actually all underutilized. Less than 50% of their capacity is ever being used, except in very rare cases like video editing or graphic design. But even then, it's the vast majority of the time they're underutilized, and then it's one time a day that they're 100% on. And the other thing that's happening in parallel is that latency in computer access is going way down. So it used to be that you couldn't really run something on the edge because the connection to someone's home was so slow that you had to run everything in a data center and then run these huge cables from the data center to the city. And it was okay if you have a bad internet connection, but it's not okay if the server has a bad internet connection. But what's happened recently is that home device capacity, especially with fiber, is now like incredibly high. So the average person at home now has like a gigabit connection or something crazy like that. And that means that like on average, you can run at least 1 or 2 PCs in someone's home without it even affecting their bandwidth. And like, so you can watch Netflix on like HD, and you can listen to Spotify, and you can probably download some files or upload some files, and at the same time run a Koii node, and it's not going to hurt your bandwidth. Which is pretty incredible, because that means now like we can basically treat this huge cluster of computers and home devices as though they were one giant data center, which huge cost savings, really exciting community potential like we've talked about. But the most important part is it means we don't have to settle in cash. We can settle in any token as long as the community's on board.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I'm excited about this is because I do use my computer a lot. I'm developing a nice groove in my chair. My desk is everything, but
For sure.
it's true what you say about the internet. It's getting a lot better. I've gone back and forth out of Latin America, and even the major cities there. Like when I first went to Latin America, you couldn't do anything. Like a simple YouTube video was like a 20-minute load. But even those places now, they have reliable internet. I feel like they could do a lot as well.
Yeah, I mean that's the really exciting part. The other thing I'd say too, like no matter how much you use your computer, you probably sleep at least like 5 hours a day. So during that time, you're really not doing anything, right?
Yeah, no, like even when I'm working, I still like I want to have this running.
Why not, right? And then the cool thing is you're basically it's an option. It's a free option that we all get to take, and it really helps the companies too. So for companies that are deploying on Koii, the cool thing is like previously they would have had to pay AWS or someone, or like they would have had to pay some fee to OpenAI, whatever it is, and that now is something they can pay with their token. And so if people believe in their project and they think that the token's currently undervalued, then it's a really easy arbitrage to accept that payment for a home computer. So not only does this take some revenue away from these big guys that are kind of owning the internet, but it also means that for a company, they're now paying their community directly. And if the community members really believe in that token, they'll hold it for a long time. So it's kind of like a synthetic, it's like a synthetic loan that we get to create, where the person who's running the node is saving the company money, and they're earning this token. And if the token does go up over time, which actually most like strong projects do appreciate, it sometimes takes time, but they do. And if you're patient, you can make a decent return on that. So you end up getting this outsized return relative to the value you're creating. And the company is also in a more agile spot where they're not having to spend all of their money on hosting, so they can spend it on salaries and things like that instead.
Yeah, and I want to. Can we talk a bit more about the Koii token? Koii token.
Yeah. So the token is a gas fee token. So like I said, the incentives can be in any token on the network. So like the default when you're creating tasks is the Koii token, which is why a lot of our tokens get pulled out of circulation, which that's good for token price. The other side of it though is the gas fees when you create a task on Koii always get paid in Koii, and so there are these tiny gas fees. It's like 1,000th of what you would pay, and it's a fork of Solana, so it's really really fast and it's very very cheap. But because of this gas fee layer, we're able to take our token and actually increase the scarcity of it without forcing everyone to use it. Because what you want is you want to have this direct connection with your node operators and with your community if you're a company issuing a token. And so all of our customers are people who have a token and want to issue it to our community members. And we're just there to facilitate this and provide like kind of the middleman bridge. So about like 2 years ago, we forked Solana and we had the first Solana virtual machine launched. That's been up and running now for, like I said, about 2 years. It's actually more stable than Solana, oddly enough, because we do all the computing on edge devices. So it's a lot more resilient. And then at the same time, this means that we have this considerable network of infrastructure. And like every day we see more nodes joining and more capacity. And that's just, at net, the relationship is as we get more nodes on the network, that means more tasks can be executed, which means more gas fees will be paid. And that means that we're like locking up more and more Koii tokens. So there's kind of an exponential point here where if we reach a certain point of adoption, then the token really, really becomes scarce. And those gas fees will still be low, but there'll be so many of them getting spent that will have a significant appreciation of the token price.
That's all like amazing stuff, and we're kind of coming towards the end of this space. Is there something else you'd like to mention about Koii that you haven't talked about already?
I think that the big one is this like internet archive type use case is what got us into this. In 2016, I was really focused on building basically a copy of the internet because back then there was a lot of fake news. There was Cambridge Analytica. There was like a lot of these different kind of attacks on free speech that were happening in parallel. And it really felt like big tech companies were starting to own the internet and own democracy by kind of like an indirect path. Because if you control speech, you control what people believe. If you control what people believe, you control the voting, and then you control the budget, and that's what controls the future, unfortunately. And so in 2016, we set out to try to like basically proofread the internet with a community of people. We had a Chrome extension. We were working on this direction. And the reason I got into crypto is to try to scale that up, because we needed a verifiable large place to store all this information. And so we've been working on this for ages, and we've been like really trying to figure it out. And what kickstarted Koii was during COVID, we wanted to be able to go out and archive the internet and keep a copy, so that in case some big bad guy took over the government, that we would be able to actually have some reference point to the past and not see the history being deleted or rewritten. And so that's still a very core to the Koii mission, which is like being able to read the internet from so many computers. It means that we have like a trustless, verifiable record, kind of like Bitcoin, but for data. And that's still at the core of what we're doing, but it's kind of become a bit of a backseat, because we had to figure out profitability so that the node operators would be getting paid and everybody could be happy. But the next big push here is going to be on what we call commons, which is like kind of like the tragedy of the commons, which is like uppercase C. So like, things like parks and hospitals and things always end up begging for a budget. And that's always been a big problem for democracies and other countries in the past prior to democracies. The thing that we're excited about, though, is lowercase c commons, which is like the space that exists between people. And so, when we're all here on this space together, we have an agreement on like something that we care about. Now we can action that, and we can crowdsource the necessary resources. So we're really excited to get back to those roots and start building that. It's a big part of why we've gotten so heavily into AI agents, because you really want the activation cost to be very low. And I think this year we're going to see this huge explosion of things on top of Koii, and we have a lot of exciting releases coming out in that direction. I guess the personal shout out is follow me, follow Prometheus Swarm, follow Koii, and get in on all the airdrops, get the tokens so that some airdrop sniper doesn't get them, and then hopefully all of you will get to be part of the mission.
Well, I can tell you I'm already part of it right now, and I hope the listeners, if they're not already, to as soon as this space is over, download the dashboard. It's just on your main website. Very easy to find. A lot of places don't do that, where you have to go through half the internet to find it. This is not the case. So I encourage you all to download it. Just some last things. We do have a Zeely campaign that goes on. So for those who are listening in, head on over to our Zeely campaign, go to the task regarding Koii spaces, and simply enter the code fishes, lower caps, one word, and be sure to collect those points, because we are keeping track of them for future events.
Very cool. One last thing to close out with. Have you ever seen a tank of fish, or especially a koi pond?
Sorry?
Have you ever seen somebody feed a tank of fish, or a koi pond is the best way to watch this.
Where like 1,000 fish eating it?
Into a koi pond. It's like this huge swarm of fish. So I saw this in the botanical gardens in Tokyo about like 5 years ago. And it's like this overwhelming experience where like you throw the food in, and then suddenly there are fish coming at you from 100 meters in every direction in a lake, which is nuts. And this is like this spectacular thing to watch. And this is kind of why we created Koii. It's the mission behind everything, is that we can coordinate resources by having a good story at the core. And so if you come up with something that's going to feed our imagination and feed our insight, then we will come and build that with you. That's what we're here for, with a pretty huge global community now. So always looking for those ideas.
And for those who want to see a more local experience, Canada's Wonderland has a similar thing where you throw the fish, and there's too many fish in the river they have, but yeah, they all swarm for the food when you throw it in there.
Pretty cool, right? And so in this case, I guess the difference is we're swarming for ideas and for imagination, and that's something I'll swarm for.
I like that analogy better than the glass eating.
Yeah, definitely. We'll stay away from glass eating.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, we don't have to eat glass anymore because we have Prometheus now. So
yes, exactly.
When I first got into this industry, you had to read everything on Reddit, and it was painstaking.
Oh yeah, time consuming, and even today, when you get lost on Reddit, it takes like a day of your life.
Yeah, it's painstaking. I think the amazing thing to me now actually is crypto literacy has become so widespread. When I first got into this, if you said crypto in public, people just looked at you like you had two heads. And now we've got a president that's doing it in the US, which is kind of nuts. Even if he's using it to shill his meme coins, it's like, the number of people who understand what crypto is and believe in it as an alternative to cash is definitely growing. And I think we're reaching a tipping point. There's a really interesting, I guess we'll leave on this note. There's a really interesting worldview. It's called the post-web, which is something that Jamie Burke from OV, Outlier Ventures, has been proliferating. We went through their accelerator a few years ago, and they're like really kind of like, I think they're gearing up to be the Y Combinator of Web3. So Jamie's idea is that there's a thing called the post-web, where anything that you do on the internet that's not for fun will be done by your AI agent in the very, very near future. And that's going to be probably a huge tipping point for crypto, because it means that all of these AI agents need a way to transact with each other, and they can't open bank accounts because they don't have social security numbers. And so that's all going to happen in crypto. That whole economic shift is about to happen. And I think that's what's going to drive the next big bull cycle. We're really excited to make it happen. And I hope that people will run their coin out so they can be part of it.
Yeah, the unbanked part is really huge, that I think crypto will play a big part on. But this has been great. I'm glad we were able to get all those questions in. You've been very easy to talk to, so thank you so much for joining us. I will give you like a 3-word statement, and you'll just roll with it. It's been fantastic. But yeah, my name's Matthew Glezos with Toronto DAO. We do this every week. And I hope you have a great week and a great weekend, and head on over to Koii network and download that node and get to earning. Use that computer that's just sitting there.
Hell yeah. Thanks for listening, folks.
Right.
See you at the interview.
Hey, take care, everyone.
Bye for now.